Next up is a very critical and important session.
Forging a Future, Careers in the Green Creative Economy, supported by program partner, the City of Toronto.
I'd like to invite this session's moderator, Bijou Papachan, Executive Director, POV Film, and our panelists, Megan Guy, Senior Vice President, North American Operations, Cinespace Studios, and Amber Munro, Apprenticeship and Outreach Equity Manager at DGC Ontario. Thank you all.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome. My hair looks way more voluminous there than it does here. I don't know what happened, but I got to get back to that hair routine. Welcome. Really excited to have this conversation. Joining me on the panel today are Megan Guy and Amber from the DGC. I'll flip it over to them to just quickly introduce themselves. Before they do, my name is Bijou. For those of you that don't know me, I run an organization called POV, and we work on developing talent into the creative industries. We work in TV and film production, the advertising industry, the immersive world, and in the gaming space. And I'm really excited to have this conversation about the careers that are emerging in the green creative economy. And as I mentioned, excited to have Amber and Megan join us. Would you both please quickly introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Of course, I guess I'll go first. Hi, everyone. I'm Megan Guy. I'm the Senior Vice President of Operations for a global studio platform called Cinespace Studios. Play a short reel in just a moment. But in addition to Toronto, I also oversee our production hubs in Chicago, Atlanta, Los Angeles, and Wilmington, North Carolina. So, Tina, if you wouldn't mind playing the 30-second one. Thank you. Thank you very much. So as you can see, we have many campuses. My role is to unify all operations, including security, technology, how we interact and support our global clients. Our clients are represented by all the Hollywood studios and streamers. So we have a vast number of productions that are coming into Toronto. Ontario is known as a large production hub. We do a lot of service production here, and it's my job in Toronto to make sure they're having a great time, that in addition to that, their sustainability plans are, they can achieve them here. So for Toronto, this is a huge deal for us. We want these productions returning again and again. We are in competition with a lot of other territories, so the stronger we are in our support to those Hollywood clients, the more and quicker they'll return back to us.
So, thanks, Megan. Amber?
You're welcome.
Hello, everyone. My name is Amber Munro. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the Apprenticeship, Outreach, and Equity Manager, a part of the Member Services team. And for those of you that aren't familiar with DGC Ontario, we are a provincial labor organization. We represent more than 3,700 key creative and logistical specialists in a variety of categories. So directors, assistant directors, production managers, location managers, production designers, art directors, accountants, picture and sound editors, and post-production supervisors, and then all of their departmental assistants. And so when it comes to sustainability, I am the staff liaison for the Ontario Green Committee, and I also have a seat at the table at the Ontario Green Screen. So our membership always has a voice when it comes to things at the provincial and municipal levels here in Ontario.
Thank you. Welcome to you both. I'd like to begin with a question to both of you. We often hear, and as we did before our panel, that creative industries aren't just responding to a green future, they're actually leading it. From where you sit, where is the industry truly leading and not just simply reacting?
Do you want to answer that one first?
Yeah, so DGC Ontario is a member-run organization. So, that comes with the board. It also comes with our standing committees relating to DEI, and in this case, our Green Committee. So it is a member-led committee. We have representatives from all of the 9 departments that we represent. We meet approximately 5 to 6 times a year. And really, we're trying to reimagine what the film and TV industry can operate, so we can put sustainability in every role, in every department, and put it into every decision. So we're very proactive in that capacity. We have people working on the ground, bringing what's happening out on production to our attention. So the top priority for our committee has been to inform and educate our members. So from the very beginning of when the formation of our committee started, we wanted to create the first of its kind sustainability fundamentals course. That was something that we launched in 2022. We engaged with Angelica Siegel from Cream Productions, who worked with the member services team and our committee to develop the course content, and really trying to get to the point of why as a way to inspire and educate our members and to make it a bit more attainable, having small achievable goals for all of the departments we represent. So that was something we achieved a couple of years ago. It was an elective course, part of our professional development and training program. And another way our committee wanted to infiltrate sustainability in the other departments was to insert segments into our department fundamental courses that we have for all the other departments we represent. So we had a little teaser as a way to maybe promote our standalone sustainability course. So that was something that we did as a way to promote and engage our membership. And then the following year in 2023, the committee actually recommended to the board that we make the Sustainability Fundamentals course mandatory training. So that came into play for a variety of catchment groups. So whether a member or a rejoining member was coming into the guild in a supervisory capacity, it was mandatory as part of their onboarding that they take that course. Any member that is upgrading into a supervisory job category, it was also mandatory that they take that course. And then again, if they wanted to be a DGC rep on any of our signatory productions, that was part of the criteria as well. So that's one way that we were leading the charge. And then this year, we collaborated with Marsha Newberry and Angelica Siegel from Producing for the Planet to launch our latest course, which is our Sustainability for Production Managers, and that launched this summer. And so we're very proud of our workforce development internally that we've had for our membership. So, yeah.
For us, the industry really has proven to be really nimble in the last few years, and in some capacities, we've been proactive and reactive. I think from our perspective as a studio facility, it's really about how we present ourselves on the global stage. Mentioned before, Toronto's in competition with many territories to get a lot of these studio productions to choose Toronto. We're against, cities like London, Los Angeles, New York, Vancouver, and for us, we need to adapt to what our clients need. Those studios that are coming into Toronto to create their productions, they have requirements. They have corporate responsibility. They need to action these sustainability plans. And for us, again, it's reactionary and being proactive in really trying to support that. Once we have the edge, We're attracting talent for the next generation. We're attracting investment for more studio infrastructure. And just to point out, in the state of Illinois, in the US, there's a new and improved tax incentive that is on the governor's desk, and we're hoping it's going to be signed very soon. But there is a 5% bonus for productions that have a sustainability plan that's certified. Now, we're waiting to hear more about what that entails. We don't know yet, but that is a huge step in a city that understands how competitive they need to be in order to attract this business.
Absolutely, and we've heard that sort of theme throughout today, this idea of incentivizing greening and sustainable productions. From POV side, a lot of the young people that we work with who are emerging in these careers are looking for that bigger purpose. They want greener sets, smarter workflows, more responsible production practices. So but they do need training. They need paid pathways into it, and they need early exposure. So I think we're in this really cool intersection where technology and sustainability are meeting each other, and it's an exciting field that's emerging. And our young people need some pathways to be able to pursue those careers into all of these emerging areas that you folks are talking about. Megan, just to build on sort of the studio infrastructure side, and as you start to think about the fusion of sustainability and technology, what innovations are you investing in that is sort of shifting the carbon impact and the skills you need on the ground?
Yeah, absolutely. All pain points for us are being addressed regionally across all of our locations, including Toronto. As I mentioned, we really try and listen to what our clients require, what the main items or elements that they're looking for in a home for their productions, because we really consider ourselves their home. So we look at everything from vendors. We work with amazing waste and recycling companies. We work with cleaning companies that have sustainable practices. We've installed, thinking ahead, where we could be going is we've installed L3 chargers, which no one's done before. They're the quick chargers. You can charge a fleet very, very fast. So we're hoping people like Krypton and all the other transportation companies over there are going to have lots of fleets for us so we can put more L3s in. Because we're really happy to do that. We know it's the future. We know it's where we're going with fleets, and I know there's still a lot to figure out with electric trucks, but we'll definitely get there. We're doing things like automating our buildings so that heat and lighting can be controlled. Can be controlled remotely. We have ample access to the grid, so we are using, everything's powered. We don't need diesel generators. Hopefully, David is going to be having his hydrogen batteries on our lot soon. That would be a huge step. What else do we have? We tried a new thing this year. We tried a beehive because we wanted to provide our clients at Christmas with some honey that was made on the lot to help, biodiversity and to get people thinking. We wanted to turn it into a bit of a learning experience for the crews. It's so far worked out really well, and we hope to do more of it. And to the last panel that we had up here with circularity, we're going to be having some conversation soon, I see you, about potentially turning our basement into a great area where we can recycle set pieces, wood, anything we can get down there. And I'm really hoping this could be a test case. So we're working with Justin and hopefully also York University to look at ways to utilize that empty space.
Amazing, and I think looking into the future, there's new jobs that are emerging for anybody that is in this room that are thinking about pursuing these green career paths, LED power systems and smart set operations, some of the examples that Megan shared, the electrified stages, for example. But I think for all of these non-traditional production roles, we do need to also enable tech training. And I think that's what we're hearing more and more. How do we create more data technicians? How do we create more LED volume operators and production managers, and I know folks spoke about sustainability coordinators, but there is a pathway, I think, that is emerging, and it's a really cool opportunity, I think, right now at the genesis of this work to be able to connect workforce development with some of the work that the two of you are doing. Amber, from the crew side, how is technology changing, and what does it mean to work sustainably? When we say green skilled, what does that mean?
I think it can be a variety of things. It really depends on the position and the department you're working in, and that's something that we want our members with the education and training to use, a critical lens and take a moment to pause and reflect and be like, is this the most sustainable way to execute X, Y, and Z? What can we do? Is it a matter of, using technology such as like scriptation to go paperless, or for our accountants, what's their workflow to go paperless? Or if they need to use paper, can it be 100% recycled paper? Can they do direct deposit instead of mailing checks out, for example? For locations, is it about utilizing the Ontario green screen electrical tie-in grids? When they're scouting locations, can those locations be closer in proximity to one another, so then it reduces the travel and transport and such? These are many ways that we're getting our members to turn our minds and shift that culture. And especially for the art department, we heard Marianne, we had talk about modular circular sets. How can we get creative and innovative, and familiarizing ourselves with the variety of vendors that are out there? And so we're constantly sharing resources with our members and apprentices. And I will say, whenever I do outreach across the province and I'm speaking with a variety of community programs or post-secondary institutions and such, I always, get them to turn their minds to sustainability as a way of having a competitive edge. It will be a hiring advantage if they're familiar with the carbon calculator tools that DGC Green has and the Ontario Green Screen has, free, accessible online training, community events, and things of that kind. There's a list of variety of resources that are available. So getting familiar with the vendors and just turning their minds and just taking small, achievable steps to having a larger impact. So again, whenever there's new technology or software or whatever comes out, our members, especially from our committee, are always bringing these things to our attention, and we're more than willing to invest in the future of our membership to make sure that they are always relevant and upskilled and ready for the task at hand, no matter what the budget level of the production.
That's really exciting, and what's really cool, in addition to what both of you have shared and what other panelists have shared, is that the technology is changing and is growing very quickly. But unfortunately, the workforce development isn't keeping up. And I think this is an opportunity for some of the post-secondary organizations to offer micro credentials or to offer one-off training that they can stack on top of existing training initiatives that young creatives go through in order to come out and be prepared for these sort of emerging workforce pathways. Shifting into sort of career pathways, and it's a question to both of you, what are some of the new career pathways that are emerging around sustainability and technology that you're seeing in your areas?
I can't speak too much to that. It's really hard to say where we're going with these careers. It's changing all the time. There's new technologies that are being developed. But just to say that having sustainability coordinators on the payroll on production is a monumental step for all of us. And I can only imagine where it's going to go from there. Hopefully there'll be more. There'll be people to capture data so we can really get some good case studies going on production. But I think it's an exciting time.
Mm-hmm. I think for us, with our latest launch of the Sustainability for Production Managers course, because the production managers are in that supervisory role, they have a lot of power and influence when it comes to productions, where they can really take advantage of the pre-planning phase to put things in place so that every material used has an exit plan. They can also take advantage of budgeting and taking their time with that to make sure sustainability is part of the line item for that as well. It is something where we have a Sustainable Futures material reuse project that our committee, that initiative was spearheaded by Stacey Morris, who's sitting over there, where her daughter was at Sheridan College and, was in a film theater program, and, students financially struggle. And so she was like, well, what can I do on the show that I am? And went around to a variety of departments, got donations, and ended up sending 3 truckloads full of a variety of things for the students to utilize to create their projects. And we thought that was a brilliant initiative. So our committee took that a step further and was like, okay, what other post-secondary universities could benefit from this? And also that's something our production managers could then go around and lend their hand to and put leftover items that maybe would have gone to the landfill in the hands of students to utilize for their own film projects. So we're just trying to find innovative ways to reduce our carbon footprint and reduce items ending up in the landfill. So something that I think would be fun to share right now is another circular economy initiative that our Green Committee launched this year. It has to do with e-waste, which you're like, oh, that sounds a bit boring. But we were like, how can we make this a fun initiative to get membership engagement? So our committee put together a subcommittee group. We wrote the script, we directed and produced it all. We hired a voiceover performer from Actor Toronto and launched it for the committee and the membership, partnering with Reboot Canada. And so maybe we'll play the clip, Tina, and I'll talk a little bit more about it afterwards.
In a world where your used electronics collect dust, in a world where recycling electronics can be challenging and you want to make a difference, comes the Electronic Donations Box from the DGC Ontario Sustainability Committee and Reboot Canada. Got old smartphones, laptops, monitors, hard drives, and tablets? Drop them off at our convenient e-waste bin located at the DGC Ontario Members Hub. Reboot Canada will securely transport and sort your donated electronics. Every component is repurposed or recycled. Reduce your carbon footprint while providing deserving students and families with access to technology. For each item you recycle, you may be eligible for a tax rebate. Recycle, repurpose, reward. Visit the DGC Ontario Members Hub at 65 Hewitt Avenue and drop off your used electronics today. DGC Ontario, your partner in greener, cleaner, more sustainable productions for tomorrow.
So that initiative came about when our co-chair at the time, Astra Burka, was at the point of like, I have a bunch of electronics and I want to, put them not in a landfill, and what can I do? And so she did her own research and came across Reboot Canada, donated, I think it was 30 items or so, and ended up getting a tax rebate receipt for, I think it was like $1,200 or something. And we thought that was such a brilliant idea. And there's so much of our membership that uses technology. And we're like, well, this would be a great initiative for our membership. So then we were strategizing how best to market it. And we just wanted to have a fun way to get people engaged. And since launching it in April, we've filled that box up 5 times already. Which is a huge success. And fun fact, that box that you see is another great example of circular economy because it was donated materials from the CARPs that were working on a show that co-chair Andrew Gaynor was able to source. So that in and of itself was brilliant. We didn't purchase anything. It was all donated items, and we just retrofitted it out with our logos, and then away we went. And so that has been a huge success, and that's a prime example of a small initiative making a really big impact. And I encourage all of you to check out Reboot Canada if you're ever wanting to donate any of your old e-waste around. And they also, when they talk about repurposing and things of that kind, they also have a digital equity program. So if they're not taking apart all of your equipment and recycling it responsibly, they're actually repurposing and redistributing those electronic goods to communities in need, providing them access with the internet and training on computer software and technology. So highly recommend them as a great green vendor.
Well, amazing, and congrats on such a successful initiative. I think these are the type of things that are laying the foundations for what a greener economy can look like. And at POV, really, our young people are really excited about these roles and wanting to grow into them. They see the value of it, and I think there's a lack of understanding. There seems to be a PR problem around greening and sustainability, and I think there was somebody in another panel that mentioned there is certainly a moral implication to this, but there's actually a financial one too, right? And I think as we start to make that shift from do the right thing to do the economically beneficial thing, we'll start to see sector stakeholders taking more ownership about what greening can look like, and because at the end of the day, making efficient production workflows means that we can actually reduce costs. And I think that's a good thing for us as a sector.
Well, also, if we don't, we're losing our competitive edge.
Yes, exactly. I really appreciate that. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you're seeing in other parts that you work in around this type of work? Where is Toronto scaled? It's not in our pre-constructed questions, but
no, I think
I'm just curious.
Toronto's doing extremely well. I think Ontario Creates and Ontario Green Screen, all the organizations are really banding together. I think that's the main thing, is everyone cares deeply, and if there is budget, everyone really is. I mean, looking at how they can better spend their money, knowing that this is the way we're moving. I mean, there's no question about it. It's going to happen. Like, whether you're ahead of the game, behind the game, you got to be somewhere in the game.
Yeah, and some of the work that we do, it's not in film production. We also work in the agency side, and in advertising. And one of the things, we work with the Publicist Group, big footprint across North America, and they're starting to ask their clients to start doing things that support the communities where they want to start to do commercials and advertising and agencies. So there is a competitive advantage, for example, as an agency, for them to go to their client and say, there's a triple bottom line to your investment. It's not just about doing the right thing and hiring diverse people. It's actually also creating a greener economy in a local context, because I think that local mobilization is so important as well. Just shifting over a little bit now into the sort of training side of things. If we did want to scale up this green creative economy, what are some of the certifications or structured training streams that might be needed? And Amber, maybe you can kind of jump in and kick us off. Like, what are some of the advocacy or policy shifts that you believe would help to embed sustainability and equity into the DNA of our sector?
Yeah, I think it comes back to the top priority of our committee when it first formed was inform and educate, and there's many resources out there. I can't recommend enough the Ontario Green Screen. They have their own sustainability fundamentals course. It's available for free. Like I said, it is self-directed. There is live courses as well. They also have training on the carbon calculators too. Of course, the DGC National has DGC Green. So I know there was a workshop, if any of you were here earlier, talking about our carbon calculator tools. Great resource. There's even one for power budgeting tools. Check out the case studies, great examples of people leading the charge there. But also don't be afraid of failure too. Like, try things out, see what works, see what doesn't work, and share those findings with each other. That's the only way you can learn. So talk to one another, maybe set some goals with your team. And your colleagues, like, have these discussions, maybe form little committees on each of your productions that you're working on. I loved, there was someone earlier talking about a newsletter that was sort of highlighting like key highlights of achievements. Like, those things are great incentives to motivate people to keep going. And, then I think you would be coming, it's a better way, instead of people being like, so overwhelmed or resistant to change and things of that kind. So, I think there's a lot of advocacy you can do once you are educated and have that awareness to then keep moving things forward.
Yeah, and I think you raised a good point about a lot of the silo sort of work that happens in the industry. It's not intentional, but I think there's some great, nuggets that people don't know about because they're all sort of in their own little silos. And if we can increase an opportunity to make it more collaborative and share these ideas with each other, because I think then we can create a bit of an upstream workflow that is being informed, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, the Ontario Green Screen has community meetings that are free. So I encourage any of you to show up to those meetings and listen to what folks have to say. You know, if you take some of the training with them as well, you can be a green ambassador, and they have meetups all the time. So that's just another way where you can advocate yourself, but also collaborate and meet like-minded folks too. So those are two easy recommendations that are readily available to everyone.
Yeah, and just on your point with workforce development, Bijou, for us at Cinespace, we are the home for productions, but we also have a division that we established called Cinecares, which I know you're familiar with. Some people might be familiar with in the room on this. And we established that to regionally impact the communities that we represent. Under that umbrella, it's all of our intentional things that we do for our local communities. In Toronto, one of those things is we have York University on our lot 24/7, 365 days a year. Their film program is housed with us. We also have a workforce development training program that we run in conjunction with IATSE and NABET. And we recruit from POV, as well as the BIPOC Film and TV office. And it's going really well. We actually put trainees on paid placements on set. And it's been hugely successful in Toronto and in Chicago. We do that for every production that comes in. We advocate to have at least a couple trainees on set. And that really took all of us coming together, yourselves, the unions, and really driving that forward. And then to your point on micro-credentials, we analyze and work with all of our partners in what the gaps are in the industry, and accounting, production accountants has been a gap. And so we worked with the DGC and with York to develop a micro-credential in production accounting, which also is doing really well.
Right. And I think your point is very good in the sense that collaboration is really where you can crack this nut, and it can help to shape, you know, the standards. You know, I always imagine this idea of a standardized green set certificate, you know, which is maybe it's like a virtual production type of micro-credential, certainly including community groups, especially the indigenous protocol and sustainability training, which, you know, I haven't heard a lot about it at this session, but I think is an important voice that needs to be a part of these conversations. And then creating more of a recognition around pathways that can combine digital literacy and green literacy, right? And create more sustainable career pathways for underrepresented creatives. And Megan, to your last point, learning has to become, I think, modular, stackable, and recognized. Because if we are all kind of going off and doing our own training, nobody's gonna feel like the person that they have is adding any value. So I think as a sector, there needs to be some type of a green office, you know, and this is a call out to any city folks that are in the room. I'd like to sort of wrap up quickly. We're coming down to sort of the last 10 minutes of our meeting here, and I want to give some chances for questions. If you could launch, you know, one bold initiative tomorrow that would accelerate careers in the green creative economy, what would it look like? What would it be?
I think for some of the barriers that have come up in conversations with the committee, and I've heard it again earlier today, it's storage and time, especially when it comes to the circular economy. So, you know, it'd be wonderful. I hear you mentioned something earlier today, which I'm like, this is very exciting. I think that's huge. I understand some of the challenges with that come with real estate, come with the day-to-day logistics of someone or people managing what that looks like. You know, we've heard of like putting QR codes on items to archive it, to track where it's going, whether it's rented out or reused or repurposed or what have you. But I think that's something that is the missing key here, and something that I feel like even in our own material reuse project we have with the post-secondary schools, storage and time is the biggest challenge for us with getting those items to and from the productions when they're wrapping to the students too. So that would be amazing to explore further.
I agree that that is a really exciting concept. It's really, like you said, it's going to take the entire industry to band together to find a way to make this work, to train the people who can man that space. And it's no quick fix. It's going to take a while, and you start small and you grow from there. But I was going to add the most obvious is a tax incentive to, you know, make us want to do it, make our clients who are coming into Toronto want to do this, and reward them in the end.
Absolutely, and I think that seems to those three things are the consistent themes throughout this message, and it's no different for ours. You know, as I mentioned, I think a citywide green creative workforce hub that convenes, you know, unions and studios and training partners like POV to launch the next generation of green skilled workers would be amazing, and you know, and it would, I think, ground the sort of green shift that we're seeing in a bit of credibility instead of this thing that's pie in the sky up in the air, and help to move it forward. Systemic change takes time. You know, advocacy work, you know, is the first one to bring attention, and then the problem solvers follow it and recognize how we need to do that work in the existing system. I think in a perfect world, we would just uproot the whole thing and start anew, but we all know that that's not the way we can actually make systemic change. And so as a sort of last thought, I would love to see, you know, that type of work being broken down. You know, how do we as stakeholders separate ourselves into advocates who can bring attention to the issue and problem solvers who are actually working on, like we saw the 5 or 6 folks who came in and shared some great ideas. And some of them that I heard for the first time here, which I was surprised about. So I think it goes to show how much of a silo sometimes we can all operate under. So that's sort of, you know, our sort of quick little discussion. I would love to turn it over to the audience in the room. We have about 9-10 minutes, and there's a microphone walking around, so please feel free to raise your hands up, and we can take some questions. We were so good, they have no questions.
We can ask ourselves questions.
Hi there, Diana again, and I'm speaking from a place of working in BC for the last 20 plus years. I just want to say that just in terms of you know, future training and that kind of thing, has the DGC considered any kind of like ethics training for production managers? You know, we know that they are the ones that are controlling the budget, and they're the ones that are you know, making a lot of these decisions when it comes to sustainability or otherwise. And I wonder if there's anything in the ethics or like anything in the works of like an ethics kind of program, which, you know, teaches a people over profit kind of mentality, which is very, and again, coming from Vancouver, BC, we're very much a service industry out there. So we deal with a lot of American funders, and that obviously creates a bit of a divide as far as the community-based action that we're trying to take and our, you know, foreign investment that's coming in that we're managing. And again, I hope I'm not outing anybody here by talking about production managers, but, you know, we've seen examples where production managers have made cost savings that came at people cost, right? And that, yeah, is there anything in the works for that to, you know, create space for like, you know, BIPOC and people with disabilities and just kind of the DEI, you know, outreach? Is there anything in that kind of a realm?
Yeah, for sure. So our recent course that we launched for sustainability for production managers, partnering with Producing for the Planet, definitely addresses a lot of those points that you raised. So that's something we offer internally to our membership. And I know in the new year, we're planning to do a professional development day specifically for production managers, and the theme will be around sustainability. Of course, when I think of, you know, reimagining the industry with sustainability in mind for every role, every department, and every decision, I also think the same mindset needs to be applied when it comes to diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. And the reason why I highlight and accessibility, because it should be part of diversity, but it's often forgotten. So that's why I'm making it a point of saying it separately. Because again, like sustainability, where it does need its own line item in the budget and forward thinking and planning, so does accessibility in that as well. When you're working with teams, wanting to know who is on your team, who is at the table, and also what are their access needs and such, and is the physical space accessible too? That's a huge thing as well that I know the folks at the Disability Screen Office are working towards with their own industry resources and hub that they'll be launching in the new year. So that's something we certainly always, want to have the finger on the pulse with whatever the Black Screen Office, the Indigenous Screen Office, and now the Disability Screen Office is doing, but also working with community partners as well, just to get a sense from folks within various communities, what are their needs, what are they wanting to learn about too, and how we can collaborate together. So when it comes to DEI, we have a variety of courses that we offer our membership that are mostly mandatory actually, so folks coming in via our apprenticeship program and membership must take the orientation, but part of that is a separate Building a Respectful Workplace course. We also have, when they're upgrading into supervisory categories, our DEI committee mandated that they must take the Leadership in the Workplace for Supervisors course that we've collaborated with Natasha Toney. We've been working with her for 10 years. We're just celebrating our 10-year anniversary with her. And we're otherwise looking at other leadership empowerment courses. So we're always wanting to lead the charge, again, because we want our members to have that advantage, stay relevant, be innovative, and that's huge. And again, if there's any members that have other ideas, the member services team is always willing to listen. And if you have recommendations of vendors, by all means send them our way, and we'd be more than happy to look into that and see what else we can offer our membership as well.
We can take a couple more. Please, go ahead.
A question that my daughter is going to be really upset about, because here she goes as she stands up, because I've met a few younger folks here today who are the next generation. And what would be your messages to them? Because we've had our turn to mess things up or to offer them a chance to do better. So as my daughter here stands up and is studying sustainable fashion design here in Toronto, I've recently met her as a grown-up, as she lives on her own, but what kind of advice would you have to her, as well as Mayor over there and all these others who are a little younger than some of us?
Good question. I mean, I love a multi-generational workforce, so I think it can go both ways, to be really honest, and I think that's really exciting, having that collaborative, open exchange of ideas, because I think the younger generation does have their finger on the pulse in a different way than folks that bring experience to the table. So I think it's that openness and willingness to collaborate, no matter what age you are, is the most exciting thing that comes to the table. So for me, like when, we get together with our committee, not only do we have representation for all of the departments we represent, but they're in all various levels in their careers as well. And it creates really exciting dialogue and great ideas. So, I think it can work both ways, to be really honest. And, some of the students that I meet when I do outreach are really inspiring. And even for me, I'm like, I'm learning from you. And I think that's great. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't need to be stagnant and sort of a hierarchical top-down type of thing. It needs to be fluid. And that's where I feel like the best ideas can come from.
Yeah, I feel as though we're all lucky to be working in this industry. I think we all feel very privileged to be here in such an amazing world that's always changing. And listening to what's needed and coming together, I think, is huge advice for young people to not work in silos and to, get out there and collaborate with everyone of all ages and backgrounds to come up with the best new innovative ideas. That's the only way we're going to survive on this earth, is if we stop being individuals and just work together.
And I think the power for young people, I work with young people all the time. That's all, we train like hundreds of young people a year. And what we keep hearing from them is they're the ones that are going to be causing the biggest change, because they don't want to put up with this ... any longer, and unfortunately or unfortunately, the industry is aging out, and I think the ideas about how the industry is running is also changing, and I think there's a really cool opportunity to bring new voices and fresh voices to help shape that. And there is another big technology that starts with the A and ends with an I that I didn't really talk about, that I think can help to sort of create new systems of change. And I know, again, fortunately, unfortunately, that technology is not embraced by everybody in this sector. And I think the folks that are going to push that forward are going to be the young people. So for us, I think, change is really rooted on what Megan mentioned about, sustainability has to be about equitable access. And that including voices of young people coming in.
But also just on AI, like that can really help the sustainability process. We have to use it correctly and responsibly. And I think that is really where the future lies.
We have time for one more question, if there is any more in the audience. Yep, we have a question right there.
I'm coming.
I have been hearing a couple different conflicting things about AI, and just now you've mentioned how it's going to further sustainability, creativity, and it's this wonderful thing. However, I have some serious concerns about its environmental impact and in terms of inclusion on communities of color across the globe. So I'm just wondering, how are you balancing those two conflicting narratives that, the truth, I think, is yet to be revealed?
Yeah, I'll just say, because I'm noticing we have 10 seconds and they're saying wrap up after this answer. I'll just say the technology is new and emerging, and I think some of the environmental concerns you're bringing is a really good one. Because it's at its early onset, I think there's a lot more innovation that needs to occur before it scales in any meaningful way, including when you think about the use of water to be actually turning some of this stuff around. So that's why I think our industry is taking a step back and saying, let's see how this is evolving. So in the meantime, input around how it can actually activate opportunities is an important one as well. I'm not an AI expert by any means, but I do think the people that are informing how AI technology is developed does not include the voices of the people that we want to work at. And truly, I think sustainability has to include equitable access as well. Happy to continue that conversation, and I feel like that's a whole other panel. But thank you, everybody, for your attention and giving us your time while we were on the tape. Thank you to both of you.
Thank you.